Call the meeting to order.
Oh, yeah.
All right, pursuant to chapter 2 of the Acts 2023 as amended of March 28, 2025, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This meeting may be recorded. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately assess the proceedings to the best of our technical abilities, and despite our best efforts, due to lack of technical infrastructure, a transcript or other comprehensive recording of the proceedings will be available as soon as possible after the meeting. So I call this meeting to order. We have a forum with fiscal advisory, with FinCom. Do you guys need to call the meeting to order?
No, we have no quorum.
Okay. Here, all right, we have two agenda items. The first is to discuss the Powder Point Bridge.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I just interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
So you have 4 members for FinCom, because you have Kathleen up there, and I just don't, and Al. And I don't know.
I don't see Al.
Al is the A.
The A is now. Well, we were not planning to convert, or we're just here to observe, not to vote.
Okay.
If you want me to call a meeting to order, I shall.
I don't know who iPhone is. In the event that it's somebody, might as well just be on the safe side. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not taking a position, we're not voting, we're just here to observe and listen and learn.
I'm just here to listen.
Okay.
So am I.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
Hey, I'm here.
Ed, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
It's a little faint.
Hold on, I can turn it up. How about that? Is that better?
Could be us. Could be our side. Give me a second. Try that again, Ed.
Can you hear me now?
Not great. We're on 10.
How about that?
It's a little bit better, but you're gonna have to sort of speak into the mic.
Okay, sure.
All right, so we asked Ed to come to the meeting to just give us an update on where the bridge committee was at this point. So I'll turn it over to Ed to give us sort of a summary.
Sure thing. So on August 3rd, we sent some recommendations to the select board, which we're actually going to review on August 17th. But they've all received a copy of it. I believe I sent you a copy of it as well.
Yeah, we're having a real hard time hearing you, Val.
Hold on, let me see if I can turn my mic up. I'm not sure how to do that, but I'll try.
I have something with fancy computer.
Is that any better?
Not really. Any chance you can maybe dial in on a phone?
Yeah, I can. What's the number?
You have the meeting invite that I sent?
Yeah, let me look it up 1 sec.
I can put.
Okay, let's see. Can you guys hear me?
You're gonna have to turn off.
Yeah, you got some feedback going on in here.
How about that?
It's better. It's still a little faint.
Excellent.
I just came off of the other Zoom, so I've got it through voice at least.
Okay, this is better than it was before. I think this is as good as we're gonna get.
Yep.
Could you turn it up?
Okay, so
We've turned it up to 10. All right.
and so where would you like me to start? Basically, I can pull up the select board recommendations that I sent to you, and just we can go through those. But really, because of your positions, I feel like the fiscal advisory section would be maybe the best thing to start with.
Like the financial piece, or do you want to start with the select board recs?
I can start with the select board recs if that makes it easier. And I can just skip through it to what pertains more to this meeting.
Sure.
Okay, so forwarding over this document, the number one committee finding that we currently have is the existing bridge requires continued investment. Regardless of the alternative ultimately selected, the existing bridge will require continued inspection, maintenance, and repairs to safely remain in service until construction of any long-term solution is completed. Because Mass DOT now anticipates that replacement construction could require approximately 4.5 years under what is described as a reasonable best case permitting scenario, the town has to plan accordingly for stewardship of the existing bridge. So I really think that's a good starting point, is what's a 5-year plan for the bridge, if it's going to remain open, all things considered. Making sure that there's enough money to do that first and foremost. That leads into rehabilitation as an engineering alternative. Those are numbers that we haven't really defined yet. We got some numbers from Dr. Tingley when he came and presented, but we really haven't received any concrete numbers on what that would cost, really from anywhere. So that's another action item that we're looking to establish as well. Another thing that number 3 on our list would be replacement would create significant long-term municipal obligations. So I did send, Alex, I sent you a breakdown. Marco from the DOT did send some ballpark numbers on what, maintenance costs would look like for the town. And then I put that into a program, and I basically figured out that it's somewhere between $12 and $20 million in the first 25 years. And that needs some work, obviously, to establish a more concrete number and probably go get some real estimates. But those are based on Mass DOT's actual numbers. So I think that obviously an $8 million swing is a lot. And that's a significant amount of money also for maintenance. So that's another long-term obligation that needs to be looked at for the town.
Yep.
We've requested a couple of times from Mass DOT to give us a complete maintenance cost estimate. And I think last time it was kind of his real first shot at it, where he did give us a bunch of numbers on maintenance costs, but then he kind of left it up to us to figure out what the wood replacement costs would be if they were to do a DOT bridge with the walkway. So that's where my numbers came from, was basically, he basically put it on our DPW and said, oh, we already know what the cost is, but we need to establish exactly what that is.
Okay.
Let's see. Then it gets into some environmental concerns, which really, if anything, will just prolong starting the project. That, as far as financial ends of this
our recommendations. That was pretty much what we came out with.
Okay.
And then now if I break it down further, I'm just scrolling through this to make sure that I didn't miss anything here. Oh, the biggest thing is, from DOT, we're looking for a formal life cycle cost comparison. So that basically compares, every angle of looking at this between rehabilitation, replacement of wood if it comes to that, so that everything can be planned out accordingly.
Is that the, sort of the financial due diligence email you sent?
Yeah, so that leads into some of the different funding options that we have. Like
Okay.
Marco explained in the meeting, the 106 is going to cause a slight delay. That being said, there's money already established for 2027. If that money, and this would be a great question for anybody on your board to figure out, is if that money doesn't get used, and if you go into the TIP website, it actually allocates, it shows you each year how much money is going back and forth. And if the money in 2027 doesn't get used because we're not there yet, it's still in 106. From what I understood from what Marco said is the town has to reapply for that funding. And I'm not sure of how that process actually works. And I would like to know.
Okay.
Because he basically left it up to us from the way he worded it. So that gave me some reservations of, all right, if there's $15 million in 2027, how do we reapply, or how do we stay on the docket for having that money? And he said there was a way to do it, but it's on us. Another thing that we looked at as a recommendation is evaluate a Powder Point Bridge Stewardship Fund or supporting entity as an outside source of funding. So now I'll jump over to the sources of funding that I've found. Because there's a pretty good list of them. So it starts up at the federal level, and number one is the Bridge Investment Program, BIP, and that's through the Federal Highway Administration Bridge Investment Program. That's where the BIP comes from. So that gives discretionary grants for bridge replacement, rehabilitation, preservation, and protection projects on the National Bridge Inventory. Local governments, states, and certain public authorities can apply directly. Projects under $100 million and over $100 million are funded through separate grant categories. So I really think that as a town, what we really need to do is figure out what are the different alternatives. We've pretty much nailed that down. And then what's this all going to cost, which is what we're still trying to figure out. Whether it's over 100 million or under 100 million is still to be determined, is my feeling on it. The second formula is the Bridge Formula Program, BFP, and it's formula funding distributed annually to the states for bridge replacement, rehabilitation, preservation, protection, and construction. And there's a certain allocation. I think it's very similar to how Chapter 90 works, but for bridges instead of just roads. Number three is RAISE grants, and that's the U.S. Department of Transportation, Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. So it's a very competitive source of funding, but it is a grant that's available. Then we have BUILD, which is the predecessor to RAISE. BUILD grants, although RAISE has larger replace BUILD, older grant commitments and certain discretionary opportunities are sometimes still referenced. So Mass DOT actually is a big part of that. So that's a question for them as well. there's FEMA money available for storm resilience, and I'm not sure if the bridge would qualify or not. Emergency access, evacuation routes is another part of the contingency there. And I'm not sure that Powder Point Bridge is FEMA eligible, but something worth finding out. Then there's the NOAA coastal resilience programs. And it's because Powder Point Bridge crosses tidal waters and exposed to coastal hazards. NOAA coastal resilience funding deserves investigation. And I will say I've done very little. I've done the basic investigation on all these, but this isn't my cup of tea, so
yeah.
That's why I'm here. There's U.S. DOT discretionary grants. The U.S. DOT administers several competitive infrastructure programs. Then there's congressionally directed spending. Talk to your local senators and representatives, which I'm not sure anybody's really done yet. And then you get into the Massachusetts funding. That's all the federal that I came up with. And I know there's more available. That's just the ones that were on the top of the hit list. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts funding, Chapter 90 is something that I went over already. That's not really something that basically everybody gets a certain amount. I don't know. You guys must be familiar with this, I would think. But all that money goes to our roads to put it towards the bridge. In speaking with some folks at town halls, it's not really going to probably ever happen because the money that it gives you doesn't even cover the road repairs that go on in town throughout the year. So, but it does qualify for it.
Yeah.
There's a Mass DOT municipal bridge program, and that program provides the state assistance for municipally owned bridges. That is definitely worth investigating. There's a transportation bond bill. And the question I don't know is whether the actual project is included in the existing bond authorizations or not. There's a capital investment program, which identifies transportation priorities and funding commitments over multiple years. There's a MVP, municipal vulnerability preparedness. And this has to do with climate change. There's coastal resilience grants, similar to the federal level, for infrastructure resilience. There is the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, which has a number of different grant programs. There's a municipal small bridge program, which I don't know if we even qualify for, but that's an option. And that's pretty much the majority of the list that I came up with.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's as far as I'm going to take it. Let's see, there was another. So when I wanted to kind of go back into, because I feel like this is a really important subject that hasn't been touched on. And let me just find the email. And it's from, give me one sec here. It has to do with the recurring costs for maintenance. When we submitted questions to DOT from the bridge committee, question 1 was the anticipated long-term maintenance of the proposed replacement bridge. So the bridge that DOT is proposing, they actually answered back, and I asked them to give me basically between 25 and 50 years, what are going to be the estimated costs. And we already know that there's going to be 118 new pilings of steel. The timber walkways, we know the dimensions of those. The timber railings, localized concrete deck repairs, bridge bearing replacement, and expansion joint replacement. So I'll start with the steel piling recoating. And that's where we're looking at a duplex coating system, which could alleviate a lot of this, but the estimated future cost after 25 years is between $7 and $12 million.
And for clarification, the estimated future costs are, if we're building a 100-year bridge, and is that the remaining 75 years? Is that how I should think about it?
No, so this is after 25 years. This is all maintenance that needs to get done according to what Marco has told us. So what happens is you could get away with not, after 25, there's maintenance that has to happen. A 100-year bridge still needs maintenance within 100 years. So if you don't recoat the steel pilings, then you're going to be looking at just exposed rust on, for a large majority of 118 pilings, which.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand if this is like so at 25 years, we should expect 7.6 to try to spend, let's call it $8 and $13 million in year 26.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's, a lot of the steel, so they're making according to DOT, they're making these steel piles thick enough that they're going to last 100 years, but they're going to be really ugly. So most people that have steel piles will recoat them. It's kind of a known process. And the recoating usually takes place after 25 years, or call it every 25 years. And it all depends on which piles are where. Some that are really in the intertidal zone are going to be pretty beat up. The ones that are closer to the beach that are always out of the water should be okay. So this is, kind of a worst case, but at the same time, I think it's fairly realistic to say that this is how much it's going to cost. That's why I'm trying to work. What's up?
Oh, are you saying that this between $7 and $12 million starting in year 26 is it every year, or is it every 25 years because you have to recoat the pilings?
Yep. So you have to recoat the piling. So it's like every 25 years, if you wanted to average it out, that would be so if you think about all the ice that goes through in given winters that we have that are bad, if they're going to do a resin coated piling, a lot of that resin's just going to come right off with the ice. So then it's going to turn to rust. Then you have to keep recoating it as time goes on. And then that's where the duplex coating system comes in, where my suggestion was to galvanize or do some sort of a zinc coating on these piles so that the steel pile recoating would be significantly less. And they have not gotten back to us on that, on exactly what the plan is, but he knows about duplex coating systems. And it's not something they do every day, but it would be a good solution to not having the town to spend $500,000 a year in reserve. So that brings me to timber walkway replacement, and that's something that I took from old replacement stuff from the town, and that needs to be all of these numbers need to be confirmed. But timber walkway replacement after 25 years, you're looking at somewhere between 2.2 and 3.7 million. Timber railing replacement, you're looking at somewhere after 25 years, you're looking at somewhere between 2.3 and 3.7 million. Localized concrete deck repairs, these can vary significantly depending on all sorts of different factors, but it's somewhere between 300,000 and 1.3 million. Bridge bearing replacement. So the bridge bearings are basically where the bent of the bridge is to the superstructure on top that the deck sits on. And that's a pretty significant cost. When Marco gave us that number, I have a couple of questions about it, because when I estimate it, given that there will be a bent every 60 feet, divide that by 2,200, and the cost ends up being $15.5 million after 40 years. And then expansion joint replacement, typically with a concrete deck, like where the driving surface is, with concrete, you have to put expansion joints in. And after 40 years, that cost will be roughly just under $1 million. So when I take the cumulative number for all of these, in the first 25 years, an estimated maintenance cost would be between $12 and $20 million. And the first 50 years, it'll be between $28 and $37 million.
That's including if we do the steel pilings, right?
That's with the steel pilings. So this is based on what DOT has presented to us so far in their design of the bridge.
Yeah, I just did the higher end for everything other than the steel coatings, and I'm getting like $700,000 a year.
Yeah, I estimated, I would say that's a good ballpark number. Yeah, the high would be 800, the low would be 500, so 700. And I put inflation into this too, just assuming it's going to raise every year, but.
Yeah, I took straight costs and didn't do any inflation on the out years, but something we can, I mean, this is just back of the envelope right now.
Right. And it's just a working number to get an idea of what we're looking at.
Yeah. Okay.
And what I've been advocating for is to try to figure out how we can, so we have to do this maintenance anyways, like this upcoming winter or starting in the fall or whenever. And, there were certain things that I saw from Dr. Tingley's presentation that he did about doing wood piling repairs. Obviously, we've basically proven in this whole process that even from SGH, Dr. Tingley, everything above the water is in pretty decent shape. The deck is going to need to be replaced fairly soon, but it's being done piecemeal. The real problem is in the intertidal zone where the pilings are. And if we can try to solve that issue, then we will be in pretty good shape. That is the number one problem. And so when we have all these repairs that we have to do for this upcoming year, maybe taking some of those methods of construction that he had, or looking at different avenues of what we can do rather than just band-aid it, instead put something in that might be useful to last for, at least 25 years. We would be getting a lot more bang for our buck money-wise. Because the way we've been doing it I don't feel is correct, and a lot of people agree.
All right. What else?
Let's see here. Give me one sec here. So if I break down all the fiscal questions I have, I'm looking at, some sort of an action plan I'm looking for to try to establish what the costs would be for full rehabilitation. Because it's in 106 right now, we bought ourselves a little bit of time to figure all this out. What would a rehabilitation cost? What would a full reconstruction of a wood bridge cost if DOT were to allow it? Which they basically said is if something's engineered correctly, then they're going to approve it per their bridge manual. So a wooden bridge can be designed and built. It is possible. But the funding that they've presented to us, what they've said before, is that they've not really said it in such a way, but that funding might go away, or it could go away. The 106 should, if there is any sort of historic significance that comes out of it, that could help, I think. And I'm not necessarily advocating for wood piles either. I'm looking for a solution that works for the long haul. So really, it's one of the action items is verify the current project funding as where we are with Mass DOT and verify what is gonna happen in 2027. If the 106 is still going on, nothing's been accomplished yet. And then something I'm trying to work up with DOT is then when they gave us their life cycle financial analysis, I want it to be more detailed. And they have all the information available, I believe, and because they build bridges, they should know a lot of stuff. So like I said, the timber rehabilitation alternative, is that actually a thing? Is that something that can be? That's really, it comes into an engineering question. A new timber bridge alternative, is that an actual viable thing that can be accomplished still? A lot of times they've said, oh, well, we don't do wood pilings anymore, but we found a couple bridges where they have recently. So it is possible.
You're talking in Massachusetts where Mass DOT has done bridges with wood pilings, or just somewhere on the.
Yeah, there's one in the border of, I want to say it's Sherborne and Wayland or something like that. It's a pretty historic bridge, and that I think it's on the border of both towns, and that is a ongoing bridge right now. Hold on, I can tell you what the name of it is.
I guess anything with a span comparable to what we have.
Yeah.
No, there's no such thing.
And tide.
The Sherman's Bridge project. It's the Sherman's Bridge project in Sudbury and Wayland. There is no bridge like ours in Massachusetts. I mean, the closest thing that we keep coming up with comparisons on is Mitchell River. And I've sent throughout town, everybody that's been involved with this has a copy of it. If you guys need one, you can email me at edmayo@hotmail.com, and I can send you where there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of differences, but there is a lot of similarities with the Mitchell River Bridge in Chatham because of kind of how everything happened. But it's what's interesting to note. So I have this document. I found this website that has the wormhole of every single document pertaining to this project. So I've actually read 1,000 documents about it. And it was interesting to note that they had basically the select board denied the 106, appealing it. Another third party came along. They got the 106. Then there was a ton of talk about wood bridge piles going back in, but that wasn't what ended up happening. So that's an interesting thing that I've noticed. With all the years of work that went into this, they still ended up with modern piles. In more or less modern bridge. They did put wood on the deck, but so that's where I'd like to do a little bit more homework to see what is really possible with this whole thing, and what's the best solution really. I kind of feel like what everybody's trying to figure out.
Yeah. Just for clarification, you said the Mitchell River ended up using modern piles?
Yes.
Got it.
And so one of the things where we got into it about the wood deck, I basically went by the premise that if I keep asking the question, maybe they'll change their answer, and they never did. But I kept asking, why can't we have a wood deck? And then they kept referring to Mitchell River Bridge having a problem with their wood deck. But the actual issue is that it's a drawbridge, and they did not calculate for wood swelling. So the drawbridge couldn't open and close. So the wood deck issue was not really what I thought it was as far as why, but I know I see a lot of people that do wood bridges throughout the country, and a lot of them are doing concrete driving services. It's actually I'd say it's 95% of projects. So that's a very common thing.
Just a quick question about the periodic recoating of the steel.
Yep.
Considering that we do aquaculture in the bay, is there any concern about that process?
Yeah, I mean, I personally have concerns about it because their coating that they basically sold us on in the beginning was From my understanding, he just said resin, but I believe it's a polyester resin. When polyester resin breaks down, that's PFAS. So I don't think that's good for the bay. It's the only thing that oysters really can't break down. So that's basically what happens when resin breaks off. So my suggestion was, environmentally, if you were to do like a zinc, so if you're familiar with boating at all outboard engines have zincs on them. Boats in general have zincs. And what that does is it helps prevent corrosion. And in the bridge world, it's called cathodic protection. And putting cathodic protection in the amount that is for those pilings, the environmental groups have to decide if that's safe or not safe. But it's my understanding that that's the best solution. So my thought process was to duplex coat the piles with a zinc type coating. So when they're installed, that zinc barrier keeps the pilings looking fresh for many years. And it also protects from further corrosion. The downside of cathodic protection, and that's where the environmental groups come in, like the EPA and whoever's doing the permitting, they have to decide if that's too much zinc. I don't feel like it is, but with the shellfish beds so close, that's a determination that they have to make.
Can I ask a question, just like to make sure that my back's straight, and I think that Rainey and Mary are probably gonna be able to answer some of this. I just want to make sure I've got my understanding right, is
Coating breaks down into PFAS. That's not bad. That's a hard no for me.
Lane. So we have the opportunity for $25 million through a TIP grant opportunity that expires on February 27th, potentially. And that did we work this through Old Colony Metropolitan Planning Council? So are they somehow involved in the grant process by filing the grant?
Not a grant. It's $171 million, first of all, and that's what the cost of the project is. They were the proponents who applied to do this.
So yes, the application came through Old Colony, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't for us directly, okay.
No.
So they would be the ones to answer that question in terms of if we don't come up with consensus as a town on what we're going to do, they apply for that, they get their money from the, through a bond bill, 20% through the state bond bill, right? And the rest is federal money. So some of our problems are that if we don't, I guess, align with the planning of what we need to do, and they look at like the vulnerability or the area of the metropolitan planning, they may at that point pivot and maybe use some of these resources to another project.
Yeah, they could reallocate. In fact, they made that very clear at the last meeting.
Which is what they do. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I had the entities correct, but that, isn't it February 27th, the first allocation is 25 million? It's not 170 something all at once.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a phased approach. I can't remember what the significance of that date was.
Okay, all right, so I have that, and then, so it's not that you can't get it, it's just that we would have to work with the Old Colony Metropolitan Planning Council to have them then go in, make an amendment and get an extension for us.
Correct.
And the risk we run is if they determine regionally that they have a better target or they want to go in another direction, they could.
But one of the factors that could be in our favor if the project were actually moving forward, then it would make more sense to continue to fund it and make it a priority because the project will already be underway. Whether the project is a brand new bridge or restoration.
Yeah, it's underway. And you kind of had asked this question on the tip. So it is a combination. So the grants that were listed were great to go through, but they also could run kind of not competitively, but they could actually be some of the Old Colony Metropolitan federal money that they're actually applying for and receiving.
I have no idea. I don't understand the purpose of the list of grants.
You don't understand why he brought those up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I'm confused, because we have a project that is underway currently happening, over $5 million has been spent. Out of 171, whatever it is. And now the 106 appeal has been filed. So if the 106 is successful, that same $171 million could be allocated toward whatever remediation or
Either
necessary
project.
is necessary to meet the 106 project. Now, whether that's restoration, renovation, repair, I don't know. It could be, but Mass DOT has already told us that if that's the avenue that they go down, that could be a viable option. So I don't understand why the town would be seeking any kind of grant funding, because the intention was never to have the town pay for this.
I can just speak for some of the grants that were listed. A lot of them have a 1 million or a 3 million cap on them,
Yeah,
and we already missed the deadline for
Right.
the next fiscal year. So we're talking fiscal year 28
Yeah.
at best. These are all very competitive. I've applied for coastal resiliency. I've applied for the congressional directed spending, FEMA hazard mitigation, all of those. We did get 3 million for the seawall, but that was after many years of trying.
and that's the thing, the deadlines are pretty tight.
And that was a
Right.
town funded project. This is not.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Candace, did you find that you had a little more success on any level with the state, even in talking, since they have more infusion of money for transportation, specifically the bridges and so forth, after passing the Fair Share Act? I mean, people call it the millionaire tax, but that's earmarked for transportation and education for the most part.
I can't speak for that directly in regard to funding a bridge that's town owned. So here's us.
So, yeah, just a question. I didn't know if
Right,
you saw any movements. You've been doing it for a lot of years, or you saw any new things kind of opening up.
yeah, I didn't see a change in that in the funding.
Could I answer one of the questions?
Please.
So, this money comes from January 14th, 2022. The US Department of Transportation funded $27 billion to states for 15,000 bridges nationwide. And you mentioned 20% state funding. The formula that came out of this bipartisan congressional thing dropped state funding, and there's on-system bridges, which are national highway bridges that require Eisenhower highway codes, and there's off-system bridges. And usually off-system bridges require 20% state funding. But with this new bill in 2022, there was language 100% federal, which is new. So this bridge that, if you look at the tip, it's 100% federally funded, and it's not state funding, and it's an off-system bridge. An off-system bridge means it's up to the local state and town to design it for their needs. It doesn't meet the federal bridge manual of the interstate highway system. So our bridge is an off-system bridge that is 100% funded for many years at 172 million. And if we get a 106 ruling of being eligible, there can be a process to make it different than perhaps what the state has currently designed. And it's a negotiation. And Old Colony usually deals with passing around state money, but this is something that was done through congressional means, and we have it in the bank. And you can, if you don't use it the first year, you can apply for, like they did in Chatham. They went through a 6-year process of their 106 back and forth. If you read the Cape Cod Times, there's tons of stories about how long it took. And we could do a shorter process, hopefully. But you can ask for an extension of your first year of funding because of design needs. You have to apply through the process. And DOT engineers in Taunton do not take away federal money. It has to happen elsewhere. They can threaten, and they don't want to do a 106, and they want to do a concrete bridge. But our bridge is an off-system bridge, and it can be designed with local input if we get a 106. And it's not 20% steel.
So.
May I make a comment?
Sure, go ahead, Al.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I think that the last person that spoke presented some very important information, and I would like to compliment Ed Mayo for all the research he's done. Just for those that don't know you, I'm on the Finance Committee and also on the Audit Committee. One point that I have paid particular attention to is our annual report, which was issued recently in June. And I'm very concerned about issues about debt, et cetera. I won't go into that right now, but I want to pick up on what the previous commentator Ed Mayo had to say about the fiscal aspects. DOT on their current reservation page, which anybody can look up, has a reservation for 172 million. Okay, here's another kind of fact or maybe opinion, and I apologize if it seems like an opinion. There is a lifespan for a $172 million reservation. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to be very subjective and give you my opinion. In my opinion, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is not a favored state in the current national administration. I mean no criticism of anybody, but I think we need to be realistic. What's the availability of funding? How do we access it? And what's the time frame? So the key is, and I think Ed Mayo did an outstanding job in exploring all kinds of different avenues, many of which I did not know. And I will probably do some research on that. But I think as we come together, it's a key point to understand. And I do have a background in government because I worked and ran municipal agencies in Western Massachusetts. I was a consultant for PricewaterhouseCoopers. So I have a background in this stuff and I kind of understand how government works. The fact of the matter is, DOT is working very carefully with us, with Ed Mayo's group, the entire town, et cetera. And I think what we need to do is to say, everyone loves the Powder Point Bridge. That is not an issue. The issue is when we put our feet on the ground and think about what is the best long-term solution, we need to come to grips with the fact that the town we love has some financial constraints, and what is the best pathway forward within those financial constraints to give a solution to everyone that is the best. And you know, this is America, and America is built on compromise. We're not a perfect union, but we're seeking it. And so I just wanted to add that, and I appreciate your listening.
Thanks, Al.
You're welcome.
So we talked about how to pay, but I'm still not clear of a concise breakdown, initial investment and maintenance. So I don't know what we've already invested in maintenance in the existing bridge, and it will continue on. But I'd like to say, okay, if we do a repair of the existing bridge, what is the deck replacement cost? What are the railing replacement costs? Because that's what we have itemized on one end. Well, I want a 100-year lifespan of the existing bridge. Or we do it 25 years or something that we can do apples to apples comparison, because we're lumping millions of dollars and we're gonna have to maintain this brand new bridge. But we're spending $500,000 every year on this current bridge, and I don't know what the accumulative costs have been so far. Do we know what was spent on
Just
it?
under 2 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say we started in
Just under 2 million?
Wait, on the annual repairs?
No,
Oh, yeah,
I'm interpreting your question as what are we spending annually
right.
to repair and keep the bridge open?
between 300,000 and 600,000.
It was a little higher than that, it was, on average, it was just under 500 or,
All I have.
or something.
How much of that is the piers versus the top?
It's almost all piling work.
Yeah.
Right,
And it's on the order of 12 to 15 piles a year, and each pile has a 10-year lifespan.
so that's a calculation that shouldn't be compared to what's potentially going to happen. Because if, for instance, the piers become steel and the whole top becomes wood, what we've learned is that the big number for maintenance is the piers. So if the piers become less of a maintenance number, and through a 106 process, we get to design a bridge that people in town like, a wooden bridge. And if we don't do the whole mahogany route that we were kind of pulled into 50 years ago and use, wood that DPWs can repair, that calculation can't be used against existing repair. Because Rainey just said, almost all of it's on the piers.
I'm just saying, what is the cost of replacing the bridge and the projected maintenance? I want to see the same thing as if we're repairing the bridge, whether it's wood pilings or steel pilings, maybe there's another option, but we're not addressing the deck, the railings and all that. I want to see the full cost, projected cost, do it for 50 years so that we have a comparison, because that wooden bridge isn't going to last another 50 years. So I just need a direct comparison and not throwing out these millions of dollars in maintenance and not having the other side of the story. But do we have that?
So Dr. Tingley would have to be hired to do further research.
Or somebody.
Well, he's one, even Marco said, I don't know how you found him. He's one of 7 wood specialists in the world and you found him. And that's who came in and evaluated the Powder Point Bridge. So anyways, neither here nor there.
Right, I guess my point is,
But I don't
before we decide how to pay for it, let's figure out what those costs are. So I don't know who's working on that or who gets that information, but without that, we can't.
I don't disagree. I get where I get sort of hung up is, I guess my first question is, who's running with this 106 designation? Is,
I had that too. What's that, where are we with that?
yeah,
Who's applying for what's it?
Powder Point Bridge,
okay.
What are the next steps?
So it's a
What's
third
the
party, you
timetable
said?
on that?
Well, actually, sure, you're one of them.
The timetable, it's a long story, but my.
They have 70 days to make a decision by the keeper, the federal keeper.
FHWA has 45 days to send it to the keeper, and then the keeper has 30 days to say it's eligible for the National Historic Register or it's not eligible. And so if it's eligible, we'll probably find out by Columbus Day, or not eligible. If it's not eligible, the continuing dialogue with DOT goes on and we keep to Marco's schedule. If it's eligible, then the 106 process allows using part of the 172 million for a consultant with a historic architectural background to listen to the community and work with DOT. And that's what happened in Chatham. And they had to hire an outside consultant. They added a wood top, they added colored concrete, they did this, they did that. So that, but how that's gonna happen with who? But the signatory on the 106 is the nonprofit Save the Powder Point Bridge. But who becomes part of the 106 negotiation is something we'll find out. But to me, we don't know until you know, on the state. And the tangents for the project will be totally different if it's not eligible. Sure. Then.
And as Marco said, if the 106 appeal is upheld, that's the moment where DOT puts their pencils down and then they start working on whatever needs to be met in terms of meeting
The designation.
and as he's also said at the very beginning of the whole project was that they were aiming toward compliance with 106 to about the 95% mark. And that they've met or exceeded that so far. And they had already hired and engaged the consultant who was the architect that helped do the design for what you see.
I'd like to disagree with 95%.
Yeah, that's not.
That's what Marco
That's
told me.
Yeah, that's what a DOT engineer in Taunton doesn't want an outside firm coming in.
But they hired one anyway.
They hired a woman that works with them now, who's an architect who is in a friendly relationship, working with them. But it's still a fully concrete pier, concrete base. And as Marco described it, it's a highway bridge with wooden sidewalks.
And they had the listing sideways where everybody contributed. A lot of people came and they took a little
Right,
tags on what they did.
but they didn't do what a lot of people would consider a historic bridge.
Got it.
And that's the big debate, and DOT will not be happy with an outside firm coming in, if it is eligible, saying, you know, what about this? The citizens want this. And it's an off-system bridge,
Got it.
and an off-system bridge can be 100% wood.
Got it. If it gets a 106 designation, who hires that outside consultant? Do we get a say in it?
I think it would be DOT. This is still their project.
Okay.
This is not a town project.
But
So they
the
would,
signatory to the 106 becomes.
Sorry. What?
And would they use the person they've already
I don't,
consulted with?
I have no idea.
The 106 makes the signatory save the bridge a consulting party in the selection.
Yeah, it gives them a seat at the table.
Got
Kind of deal.
Yes,
Yeah.
Pete Dalton, I'm the Duxbury Shellfish Advisory Board, living on Farnsworth Road. Not mistaken, Dr. Tingley told us that that the repairs, which would be wood Dutchman, you could do 12 months a year. No weather conditions. Also, the bridge could be occupied, going back and forth, no stop, traffic or anything like that. All the repairs we've done during 12-month period. New construction, as you probably all know, all the road work right now, 93, 128, all only can be done during the spring and summer months. Concrete, asphalt, the asphalt plants all shut down. Steel, all construction can only be done in the spring and summer. So if we would go state highway bridge going through here and you repeat the The other thing is when you build a bridge, I've been in this industry for going on 57 years, a lot of bridge work, safety bridge, and the things I've done with Big Dig. Most bridges are built to a 4-to-1 safety factor. We have 555 vertical piles. This bridge is not going to fall. The 4-to-1 safety factor. The other thing is with new construction, you need staging areas. Okay, sea containers, 40-foot flatbed trailers, sanitary porta potties, office trailers for the contractors. All this usually typically is done on the project themselves. They take over what part of the lots or all of that activity that is close to and adjacent to the bridges that they built. So I can only envision at the west end, that parking lot being taken over by sea containers, stock material. And then on the east end, unless they get that parking lot there where Blakeman's in it, because Blakeman's is a nervous wreck about this losing their business decision. The bridge is shut down for 8 to 10, I would say 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
All the other people that service. The other thing, Marshfield doesn't want all this traffic going through their town. The other thing, if you notice right now, with all the roads falls that are taking place, in between all the underside of all the bridges in Massachusetts and all the New England states, you'll see the I-beams, the web of the beam and the flange. From flange to flange, we have a plank that's stopping all the concrete and asphalt falls that come down. through expansion and contraction of the bridges. All those things take place with concrete and steel. That's why if you go to all the coastal communities in Cape Cod, everything you see is wood driven into the mud line. And I did, Captain Jack's worked on P-Town, from the mud line down, and all the wood pilings, I dug around, it looked like they were driven yesterday, they're perfect. From there to the +2 tide is where you have a little bit of sun, of course, there is some, but not much, for infestation. This started in 1973, when President Nixon passed the Clean Water Act. You have some of that going on. Dr. Tingley, when I went underneath that bridge from the +2 tide mark on the tide, you look to the inside, it's in great condition. We have road planks. Yes, they're pop. Yes, we do. Just like road asphalt, you have little potholes. Those things are quite common in travel. My point is, this bridge could stay open right now through all those repairs. The wood Dutchman, I don't know if you know what a Dutchman is. The Dutchman would replace certain sections that had deteriorated on the bridge. And he told us he could do it, like I said again, he could do it no problem during 12 months a year. The other thing is with new construction, you have what's called a jack barge. Jack barges are a barge where the crane goes on top of it and move from one location to the next with tidal water. They need water to flow. We have 6 hours of tide coming in, 6 hours of tide going out. So they're limited with the construction actually on site working. So they can only work here in this bridge during the summer months because of ice and everything else. As you know, the cistern of the piles we done last year, the barge had to leave here during high winds with a crane. They had to go to a safe harbor, which they had to get permission to pull into Plymouth to tie up to their docks. This would be an absolute nightmare. It allows at least 8 to 10 years for this activity to take place there. If Dr. Tingley will get underneath that bridge with local contractors and put those Dutchmen in and just periodically work right from the east end to the west and west end to the east end and take care of what's absolutely necessary. And with a 4-to-1 safety factor, I'm not worried about this bridge collapsing. Actually, almost 3 weeks ago, we had an 18-wheeler go over it. I don't know if you know that, by accident. Of course, he wasn't supposed to go, and it didn't fall in the water. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'd like to raise the point, the Fiscal Advisory Committee, if you have a choice between a concrete bridge in your future to repair or a wooden top bridge with maybe steel pilings as one option or an all wooden bridge, your worst choice, at the end of this project, the state will turn over the bridge back to the town of Duxbury for ownership. And the town of Duxbury having to repair a state highway concrete bridge will be a nightmare because you won't have. You already have the ability with the DPW to fix wooden planks and, you know, you have a system in place to do the decking with the DPW. If you go to concrete, you have to hire outside the town large bridge engineering firms to fix that concrete. And personally, I think Fiscal Advisory would want to keep with it in town. DPW fix the damn bridge top and make permanent piers that solve the problem that we're having. And whether they're wood or steel, that's the process that's coming up. And, but I would advise that Fiscal Advisory support a wooden top bridge for future funding from the town coffers versus paying a highway engineering firm to fix a concrete bridge.
It isn't quite like that, though. It's not quite like that at all.
Do we have the cost of what?
Let me just finish. I spoke to Mass DOT before coming here, and things like deck replacement, bridge bearings, the expansion joints, the town wouldn't be in for that. That would be another TIP project if in fact those you had catastrophic failure on that scale. Yeah, we would be responsible for doing things like repairing the wood, filling potholes, things like that, but not in terms of massive debt.
But you have to go to Congress, you.
Just like we do now.
Yeah, this bridge funding started in 2022 in DC. And it went through Josh Cutler and went through and we're 5 years later. So say you have a concrete bridge problem from some, astronomical storm or something. You have to start that. Gotta get Congress, gotta go to DC,
And that's
gotta.
not new, because we did it with East Street, we did it with Franklin Street,
But
we're doing it with any of the roundabouts.
East Street took
Right.
us 4 years.
David and the town was responsible for 9 months.
All right, well, we need one at a time, please.
I just wanna finish what I'm saying is.
Yeah.
You can have a problem with a wood top bridge and call DPW and have them fix something in a week. Or you could call DC and start a
Point
5-year
making.
political.
You made your point, got it, thank you.
Yes, also I wanted to hit on, as you know, we have 40 oyster farms here, which I'm taking part with. And the guys are very concerned, family members and everything else about contamination of the bay, removing 555 piles and driving new piles. They have what's called a booms that go around construction sites for hydraulic fluid leak. If you have cranes, all hydraulic equipment, driving equipment. Hydraulic leaks are quite common. Believe me, I was on a big day. We have more booms going around different areas. That boom is on the top so it doesn't spread. That will go down, but of course, a lot of it does flow. We've 40 farms, all right, we did almost $8 million worth of oysters just in our bay alone. Kingston's upset about this as well. I just don't want to see them lose their businesses because of this. The perception alone of hydraulic fluid and anything in this bay, you won't want to go to the beach, you won't want to buy any oysters, and we could avoid all that trouble if we just simply did wooden Dutchman underneath that bridge, close to $14 million, and get it done and have everything open in the same way it was. You get longevity out. Wood lasts a lot longer. I've done studies on wood when I've had groups like this. I'll take a box of toothpicks, pass them around to the table. Everybody break a toothpick. They break them, no problem. I take the same box of toothpicks that I've had in water, and a cup of water for a week. I pass them around, nobody can break them. Wood gains strength when it's saturated with water, just to let you know. Right, and also all the other concrete and asphalt you see all debris netting hanging all underneath all the bridges. That's to save all the road swells and everything coming down, smashing into windshields. You're gonna have the same stuff. A controlled expansion joints right now got a bid on, it's $500 a lineal foot for an expansion joint. Typically, they're every 100 lineal feet in a bridge. Those expansion contraction, freeze-thaw cycles, all they do is pop and break. Control joints, they break and spall. Concrete repairs with polymer, concrete and everything else is very expensive. A square foot is $250 a square foot to go 2 inches deep to get down to the existing reinforcement bars, the sister on new bars. It's a pain in the ass. It costs a lot of money and it can only be done during spring and summer months. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Buggles, come here. Hey.
So going back to costs, do we have a summary of the Dutchman
That's what I was
pier
gonna say.
repairs? Plus the wooden deck needs to be replaced at some time and the wooden railings. Do we have the total cost of restoration of the bridge? Does that happen?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that's one of the questions that Ed has. I don't want to speak for you, Ed, but
So everyone has the question, but who's?
Yeah, that is one of my remaining questions, because we haven't really gotten that far with it yet, is what would that cost be? I mean, Dr. Tingley said it would be 17 million, but we would need a full engineered set of plans. And, it would have to go out to bid to find out exactly how much it would be.
So it's 17 million to do basically, Peter, what you're suggesting. But we don't have any cost analysis on what we would be seeing for maintenance each year moving forward. That, we haven't got to that point yet.
I'm not saying you said 14 and 7, I'm sorry.
That number isn't real.
Yeah, Karen, can I just want to qualify that? The $17 million number that's being quoted is not based on any factual information that we've seen. And it's not based on the competitive procurement process
Right,
that needs to
I got that.
happen in the state of Massachusetts. So
Yeah.
I think it's unfair for people to rely on the number of 17 million as a replacement cost until that actually goes up to bid.
Yeah, and I got that for sure. I mean, I think they were both pretty clear about the fact that it hasn't gone out to bid. It just was interesting to me in hearing his presentation and then wondering whether or not there's been any other further analysis to the earlier conversation about what would the maintenance.
Yeah.
From the,
Yeah, there will be, excuse me, you can speak on that as well, but Dr. Tingley told us 14 to 17, we want a better number on that. We gotta bring him back.
And you have to bid it.
And it's in that ballpark, he told us 14, maybe to 17, but he's done bridges all over the world.
But
He's
he
one of the
hasn't-
best in the
He
country.
hasn't done one here in Massachusetts
No,
with
and prevailing
chapter
wage is a major
30B
Yeah.
and prevailing wage.
And
So it's really, in my mind, misleading to be holding that as a benchmark.
And that's just for piling repairs, nothing else.
That a full.
That's everything,
That's the deck replacement, the railing replacement.
getting it as best it can be.
But we
Well,
don't
to,
know.
to sustain it for 1 or 2 years.
There's no scope. He did not provide a scope.
Not yet.
We have no idea.
No,
what the
we don't,
scope-
I think we don't know.
We don't.
An incomplete
All
number.
right, so fiscal
Let Derek-
advisory,
Derek
we
can't.
need that. We can't do anything if we don't have the numbers.
Right.
But
I was just gonna
we
add-
don't know.
Derek would like to speak.
I think it's unfair that the residents have never been able to weigh in, whether they want to preserve the bridge or whether they want a DOT bridge. I mean, they've never had the option, so I think that's unfair. I mean, we're letting the DOT run with this and give us an estimate, but if the town wanted to appropriate the money to see what a wood restoration would entail, and what the cost would be, I think that's something that's feasible and that maybe should have happened. And then we wouldn't be calling it unfair. Dan Tingley can come in and do a level 3 inspection or somebody else, and we can get those hard numbers for a full wood restoration.
Right.
What funding source do you recommend for that?
You have the town manager.
No.
You have the boxes. I mean, I'm happy to look into it, but I'm not in a paid position to do that.
You don't
I
have
mean, when
to
you
use
send
your
people out
business.
to source and fund.
What do you recommend we use for funding?
Well,
Even
I
if
think
it
there's
was
2 options there.
17
We were either going with
Real.
preservation or we're going with a modern bridge. I don't think we've ever explored preservation because if we went to 106 and we built a relationship with Federal Highway, they would probably steer us in a direction and give us, the funds that could be appropriated to that project. Have those been explored? We don't know, but we're trying to find that out.
Actually, let me give you the answer because it's in the FOIA request that I fulfilled for you yesterday.
Those are emails.
When we started this conversation on how to get this thing on the tip.
Yeah.
It was all about restoration and renovation.
I saw that.
That's what we wanted to do. Can
Where
we
did it
get-
change?
Can we get this bridge either rehabbed, rebuilt, or whatever through the tip? So we said, let's get it on the tip. Turns out we get it on the tip. But then the Federal Highway Administration kicks in and says, we can't do that because it has to meet federal highway guidelines. So
That's not
that's
true.
excuse me, that's the reason that it wasn't being offered as a restoration or renovation project. They told us it had to meet federal highway standards, and that's not part of their program. So now the 106 has been filed, and lo and behold, it may become a
Well, why
wooden
why
bridge.
didn't we pause then and get a consensus from the residents in the town? And
Because
find out what they want?
it is.
Well, because Josh Cutler and Patrick O'Connor, and they signed
They
their names on there,
advocated
they
for it.
advocated, I saw that, and that's commendable. But then after that, I mean, it fell on deaf ears because that's not what was carried out. So-
Because the decision on what type of bridge isn't rendered at town meeting. The funding for it is, not its type.
But nothing precludes us as a town
Right.
from
why can't it
gathering
be?
It would only be a sense of the meeting.
Right.
And
Can I talk? It's
And-
Christine Hill.
We spent 2.2 million since 2020.
This is fiscal advisory.
This is absolutely fiscal advisory.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, but I'm concerned that you guys are talking about bringing in somebody who lied repeatedly in his presentation to make a major decision.
Christine, I will give you an opportunity, please.
Okay.
Thank you. We have received thousands of emails and messages and letters, this group, okay? There's 16,300 people in this town. The majority of the people in this town that pay taxes want to maintain and keep that bridge. That's all I'm saying. And not have 5 people make the decision.
How can you prove that?
16,000. I'm just letting you know.
It's impossible to prove.
No, I'm not proving it. I'm just letting you know.
Residents, a third of them can't vote because they're 18.
I'm just telling you, there's a lot of kids alone taking their bikes. My grandchildren don't get. They go to the
Point
marriage
made,
school.
Peter, point made.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give Christine an opportunity.
Yeah, okay, so I'm very concerned that people keep talking about Dan Tingley. Dan Tingley came in here and he repeatedly lied about the other bridges in the country that he'd worked on or that had been that he said they were wood bridges in salt water. Two of them had burnt down. Two of them had been removed because they weren't safe. There were other bridges that were he claimed they were in ice flows. They're not on ice flows because they're on a part of they're designed in a certain way so that they're not on the place where there's ice flows. He said that he had put in pilings in salt water in Nova Scotia, and it was for a bridge that was 10 miles inland. He told us another bridge was in an estuary. It was in an area that's been behind a dike for hundreds of years and it is in fresh water. I just think that people want a lot of things, and so they're relying on information that isn't really reliable. And so people are making, I agree with what Al said earlier. We have to make a really hard decision. You have to base it on real facts. And to do that, you have to talk to reliable people. And I don't think that's happening here. That's my point.
Thanks, Christine. Appreciate it. Alicia, you have a hand up?
I did. First of all, she's never had a conversation with Dan Tingley. So that's aside from the reason why I raised my hand is because I just wanted to respond. Rainey had asked where maybe we could get the funds so we can come back and do a deeper inspection. And I believe at some point in recent meetings, something came up that maybe there was a possibility that we could use some of the money that's been allocated toward repairs for this year, that $300,000 could maybe be used part of it for a level 3 inspection, and then the balance of that possibly could be used to do a test run of Dutchman's patches. Dr. Tingley's offered to come and train the people that would do that to make sure that they were done properly, because it sounds to me like there are Dutchman's patches that have been done maybe out there in the world that weren't done the right way. And so just so that we can experience what it's like labor-wise, cost-wise, and live with it for a little bit to see how they perform for us, that maybe we could work something out, at least to get us through this next year, so that we can make a better decision on how we proceed.
Does anyone have an idea on what a level 3 assessment would cost?
It's somewhere in the vicinity of it's a little over $200,000.
That's 2/3, I think, of what we have.
Now, that's
It's more than 2/3, but also remember that the suggestion of having Dan Tingley come out and do a level 3 inspection at a cost of $200,000 is not a fait accompli. That would require us to go out to bid, and it would be a competitive bid process. And there is no guarantee that Dan Tingley would be the winner.
Okay.
So we can't make assumptions that we are relying on this resource, because procurement has to play a key role in this process.
Right.
Except that when you're talking about experts at a certain level, I think that there's
Yes, I mean, it's all in how you write the RFP.
Correct, exactly.
Everyone gets it.
His finished carpenters and his rough carpenters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I assume there are certifications and qualifications that we've been looking for when we write the RFP.
Right.
Got it. So.
Sure. I would say that tonight, this committee, which will be important on recommending what bridge will be fiscally sound, you don't have enough information. And that you have to wait for the October decision on 106.
Yep.
And then you also, I personally, as a taxpayer, would not turn down 172 million of federal highway funding and go looking for 19 million at town meeting. And I would try to work the process of the 172 and hopefully get a 106 and let citizens say, we want this, we want that, meetings, etc., and this whole process. And then use the 172 to get what the town wants. But to turn down the 172 and go looking for 19 million for Dr. Tinley, I'm not with this group on that idea. I just think it's not credible. It's it would never pass town meeting, and we have a gift horse in our mouths right now. And don't look at gift horse in the mouth of the 172. And let's see what we can get out of them through the process to get what the citizens in town want. But also, what are the long-term implications of a concrete bridge versus what we know for a wood top bridge?
Does anyone know, is there anything that we can do to help make our case for a 106 designation?
Yes, you can write a letter as the Duxbury Fiscal Advisory Committee to Joy Beasley, keeper of the national. She will make she'll write the letter, eligible not letter. And once FHWA gets it to her through August, she'll be deciding in September. And anyone from town can write a letter saying, like for instance, Tony Kelso, the town historian, wrote a letter. Carol Ravenscroft, DRHS, wrote a letter. People, a lot of committees and people in town have written letters. But you guys did it, but if you wanted to write a letter in September in support of the 106 as something that fiscal advisory wants for a process for the town.
Did you forward me that information?
I did.
Please.
So, but I don't know if your whole committee wants.
We can, I mean.
Send it over.
Yeah,
Just
just so we can have.
All you have to do is, it's a simple letter. We support the designation. We support an eligibility letter.
So I'm still trying to get to the numbers. SGH has done a lot of work on bridge assessment and required repairs. Has that only been on the supporters? They done the full bridge, the decking?
No, it's only based on the repairs that they do.
Right, so. I know a long time ago, I got the SGH bridge repair report.
The 2019 with all the files.
Yeah,
And it had all the inspections on there.
right, but is that just the piles or the decking,
If I remember correctly, it was. I'm gonna screw up my terminology. The top is the superstructure, substructure, it was substructure
only?
only.
Yeah, the Benson below.
Yes.
All right, I was just trying to see if there's something that I could benchmark from there. And if we could get a summary of all the actual costs for the last 5 years.
Well, I have a similar question, like that report, it's mostly an appendix and it goes through and graded all of the files.
Yeah.
And it had all of the inspection reports against it, and I guess I'm wondering is, has the DPW or whoever, I assume is the PM on that, have they updated which piles they've repaired? Like,
They did.
in that schedule?
And they presented it to the board last fall.
And that means, all right, can we?
And they gave it a 10-year lifespan, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, because the piles are they're only 10 years long. That's
So I can just add to that, just looking back, my own research, from 2020 to 2026, we spent 2.2 million appropriated for repairs, but they're only gonna get us 10 years. If you take Dan Tingley's 3.1 million, and you can scrutinize that, those aren't hard numbers, if you wanna. Get a level 3, you'll get a better estimate, but 3.1 million to. To repair all of the pilings. Under the bridge, compared to 2.2 phased out, I mean, those numbers are very close, and that could buy us another 20 to 25 years, wood pilings. If we had spent that money, then that was our goal.
But that's not all the costs for maintaining the bridge.
No,
That's,
I understand, that was for the pilings underneath, support structure,
And the
yes.
purpose of that was to maintain the bridge being open. That was the only reason we did that.
Or was it to get us to the DOT, and then they tear it down, I mean, that's money wasted.
You just finished. You know.
Well, it kept the bridge, I mean, it kept the bridge open.
The point was to keep the bridge open until it got on the tip. Now it's on the tip, and the point of the tip was to see if we could get another wooden bridge, which we've been told we can't. But now you have the 106 coming into play, as you just said, Sheila. And if the 106 is successful, it might be another wooden bridge. Now, I don't know if it'll be wood pilings, but it could be something close to what people seem to think they want.
For me, it's just whether you want preservation or whether you want the highway bridge. Choose from there.
I don't want to pay
But
for
the
it.
elephant in the room for me is. If this is shut down 8 to 10 years, we have not, and maybe you guys are going to discuss about. The economic impacts in town for businesses, for beach revenue. I know Ray, you didn't seem to have a concern about beach revenue, but I do. I mean,
I don't know where you got that from.
We talked after the attendance meeting. You
No,
said,
in
you said
fact,
the last
Mary-
one, we ate 6, we didn't lose any revenue.
I did, but anyways, I will, just got a little.
Yes,
Thank you.
I mean, I think that's a concern.
You done?
Excuse me?
You done? I don't want to interrupt you.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mary and I and Matt are gonna be talking to FXM. They're an outfit that does economic analysis because we wanna know what's gonna happen first to the town, because that will probably take the biggest hit with the revenue loss if we close. If the bridge had to be closed for 3 to 5 to 7 years, we don't, so we're gonna find out what that's gonna do. And then we'll find out what it does to all the ancillary businesses, not just in the Farfars neighborhood, but also by Millbrook, what's gonna happen over there. Because things could increase for them, for traffic and things like that. So we are doing an economic analysis. We're trying to figure out what the cost is gonna be before we go ahead and jump into it.
may I ask one separate question?
Please.
When will the environmental impact study come into play?
Marco answered that question, and that doesn't happen, just like with the seawall, until the project is moving forward. Environmental impact studies don't happen until there's a live project that's actually been approved. So this is approved, but they're not at the permitting phase.
So it's approved, but not, so it has to be designed.
Yeah, there's no
The
design.
design has. to be-
Right now, we don't know if it's gonna be wood piling or it's gonna be steel. What's it gonna be? So they don't know anything yet. But that is coming.
Before you, Peter, I have one follow-up question, Rainey. How would they, the firm's gonna do the economic analysis, are you going to sort of take into account the a bridge project potentially taking over the entire parking lot for staging?
But yeah, the limits of construction aren't defined yet because we don't know what they are.
Right.
Because with the bridge project, at least to the DOT proposal, the west end is also gonna be reconfigured as well.
Yeah.
Probably not toward the end of the project.
Yeah.
So, there will have to be some kind of some means of adding that to the analysis, because if all of a sudden we lose what used to be called the Lagerstadt lot across from Blakeman's, and that's the staging area, if that area is lost, which is usually busier Labor Day, then that needs to be factored in as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to. make
All
sure-
those things.
So
all
take
those
that
things.
there.
Fire trucks.
All those little
A
pieces.
worst case and best case
Yep.
scenario.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's all kinds of other nuances that has to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. definitely.
Peter, you mentioned the west end. The bridge. I know if I am in the domain, if I'm not mistaken, a little white lighthouse there, that woman's driveway is gonna be taken as well. She's not real happy about that, just to let you know. So, too. The other thing, I was just curious, you mentioned SGA, Simpson, Humbert, Hager. Did you, I don't know of any that participate in any wood structures in Massachusetts or doing one anywhere. They're one of our competitors. I don't know of any other wooden bridges they've taken part in. Have you looked at their resume to see basically what other wood structures they've been involved in this state of Massachusetts?
No, I just know that they were the hired consultant.
Yeah, we just got the
But I would really look at that to see. next time
I know
around.
them for roof replacements.
Yeah. The other thing I just want to mention.
Yeah.
On the fiberglass jackets, Fibercorp out of San Diego called me office, the rep was out of Rhode Island, and asked me if you could do a mock-up of 3 days in our lab at MIT lab. And I said, sure, come on over. I didn't tell him I was from Duxbury. He said he had a project in Duxbury that he would do for the fiberglass jackets. This is what I'm very concerned. This is what I've gone through here, all right? So he said, come into our lab if you like and do the mock-up. He said, I have to hire, I want to bring in the DOT-5, the town of Duxbury, some of their representatives to oversee and watch the mock-up. So they came into our lab and I watched them do it. And I said to myself, this is not going to work. The jacket is supposed to be 3 inches proud of the existing piling. And what you do, you walk in the two-sided jackets to them and you bolt them up with stainless steel bolts. They started pumping the grout from the top. And I said, what the hell are they doing? Can't believe this. All injection with 6,000 PSI grout is typically done from the bottom, pressurized and pushed. You push the salt water up and out. Once you see the grout at the top, you know you reached your goal of filling the voids, the holidays between the two jackets, which are 3 inches proud. I told the town afterwards, and I went to a meeting, I watched this and I said, please do not go forward. This is absolutely insane. Don't do this. Well, they did it. Okay, the town did it. You know, some of our guys, oyster guys, they're still dragging up in their the shoes on the oysters dredges, picking up remnants of all the jackets, right? When they do it oystering. And the other thing is, I had asked during the application of this, who's going to do QC or QA inspection while the jacket's being put on? Do you know who did the quality control or quality assurance inspection during the application of all these jackets that ended up 100% total failure? Anybody know that? I also watched when the grout bags of grout were up on the beach on the east end. I guess the Fibercorp out of San Diego left, but no, they left the job for some reason. I don't know why. It's another contractor came in that had never done this before. The grout that they were using, the bags, hot as a rock during the winter. The thing was a total failure. This is why I took part in this. I'm concerned of the way things get done. Just QC inspection should have been done, a quality assurance. Nothing was done, and I heard there was lawsuits over this, and the town didn't do a damn thing about it. And that's why I jumped on board here with this group to make sure we're doing the right thing. And that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Excuse me, Jenny, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. In addition to your economic study, is there any plan to do any kind of traffic impact study when the bridge potentially is closed?
As part of the getting ready for the economic study, I called OCPC and they got their last 2 traffic studies that were done at the bridge, and they're done around this time just to see what the peak is looking like. They have 2 years worth of data, which is basically on average because it was prior to COVID, so the data was good. If they need it, I suppose they'll get it. They would ask for it. If they want it, we can easily get it.
When you say they, you mean DOT?
No, whoever the consultant is.
Oh, the consultant. Okay. I had made a request with highway safety, and I don't think they've done it yet. I heard DOT say that they used a car counter. I don't know where they put it, but I had asked highway safety to do car counters at the west end of the bridge at now and burn it. Yeah,
They'll put them everywhere.
Yeah, just so that we can see, because Garrett Road will get particularly impacted by that, and I just think it would be important to really thoroughly look at that.
Yep, I agree.
Frank? Thanks, Alex. You were just talking about something else. The 106 designation, is that something that the town really wants to have? I know it certainly benefits the proponents of a wooden structure because that's what it is. It would sort of preserve that right. But the town is then burdened with an historic structure that they have to maintain. And might it not just drive the costs of whatever we do with the bridge up? Because you have to now meet certain standards every year to keep the bridge in that historic designation that you've created. Isn't it in our best interest?
Fair question.
It doesn't mean, a 106 eligibility letter doesn't mean that the town will be applying to the National Historic Register to make it on the National Historic Register, which then requires you, if you have a National Historic Register house, they'll come, you know, you can't.
So what
pay-
does the 106 you're applying for get us?
What the 106 gets us is a historic consultant and an architectural consultant outside of DOT bridge engineers who may listen to the town about adding more wood than DOT is willing to give us. And if you are worried about future historic requirements, we're not on the National Historic Register. And if you're on Nantucket, you can't pay your shutters a certain company because it's on the National Historic Register. I doubt the town, knowing the town currently, is gonna apply to make the bridge. Certain sites, the Alden site is on the National Historic Register, they have to follow, but you don't have to worry about it being a burden because all we need is an eligibility letter that it qualifies for the National Historic Register to get DOT using federal money to hire a consultant who may add more aspects of a wooden bridge than DOT Taunton is willing to give us. And future requirements of National Historic Register aren't an issue because we're not on the National Historic.
If I might just.
Please.
Go ahead.
No, do you follow?
Okay, I think that I like the idea that Candace is suggesting regarding trying to get some legitimate comparisons, because these numbers are all over the place.
Yes.
And I can't think things could be as bad as they're being said they are, nor as good as they say are. I'm just too cynical.
Yeah.
And the bridge isn't that simple and that cheap.
Right.
And the other one isn't a disaster either. And someplace in the middle is where I think everybody would like to sort of be. And I think trying to find some kind of an economic analysis of what really is going to cost to do both projects. I know there's an emotional attachment to a wooden bridge and there's none to the other bridge.
Yeah.
And that's going to drive a lot of motivation on one side, but the economics would be helpful if in fact people are concerned about what the rest of the town thinks. And we made a reasonable economic decision. And I don't think at this point we can make that decision because we don't know what they're going to cost.
And the question I have is how much would it cost us to get to that decision? And where are we gonna get the money? Sandy, can you help follow? No, sorry.
No.
Okay.
So first of all, I thought you had mentioned that if we do get the 106, that the monies out of this 172 will give us that quote.
I don't know. That's what I'm a little confused by of, is it something we want to get into regardless of who we get in a 106 designation, or do we wait till we get it and then?
Well, but October's not far, so wait and get it, and then maybe now that bill is fulfilled through the 172. I have another question though. Is there any possibility that during all this, let's say, the state does come in and they hold up the parking lot and whatnot, is there any possibility that the beach itself for full access, other than just creating a pathway for Sagebrush and the Gurnett, that there'll be no parking for anyone and that it will be closed for all those years that is happening? Because guess what? It'll be like abandoned ship for Duxbury. Everybody will be like, now's my time to sell my house.
I'd be very surprised because they are very mindful of the fact that that's a revenue generator for the town.
But what will you get in regards to parking spots? So first of all, out of town residents, they're not gonna, you know, we want priority in Blakeman's over them. And also, you know, it's still a struggle to get out, you know, over sand people, like when you shut the beach down fully, you know, the walk on is quite busy at times. I mean, it's still pretty loose out there, I think, there's a lot of space still, you know, but if this happens and there's no places to park, like it might be minimized to like, you get 75 spots every day for the next 10 years.
So
In
I
some
don't
years,
think
that's actually true.
when they did. the
What?
first-
Wait a minute,
In
what?
some years, that would actually be good, because I've seen times when we've had to go down to 10 cars. You know,
For what?
In the parking
the
lot.
number, oh, not in the parking lot, I'm
No, I
talking on
think
the
that's what
beach,
she's
I'm
referring
talking
to.
the oversand.
I don't
No,
think
no,
they
I'm
was-
talking just the walk on.
Yeah.
Public access
It
to our
remains to be
beach.
seen, because nobody knows where the staging area is.
Right, so that could shut down, like
And it
that's
may
an
not, it may
unknown.
be wide open too. That's unknown as well. It's pure speculation.
That's a big unknown, because
It
that's
is.
kind of the whole culture of this town.
There's no question, I'm acutely aware of that,
Yeah.
but I wanted to back up to the 106 thing, if you don't mind. To your question, friends,
Yeah.
friend, to your question,
Yes, sir.
on the 106, back in September, the board voted, they agreed to the following, that no one supported canceling the project. They all agreed to hiring a consultant. And appealing the non-historic designation of section 106, it was agreed to hire and work with the consultant first, continue to work with Mass DOT and see how the project progresses, and then appeal if need be. The funding never came through to hire the consultant, so Mass DOT hired the consultant for us. And that's when they had the four listening sessions, the first two of which were when people went in and they said, okay, tell us what you think about the bridge. They like the sound of the rumbling of the car over the wooden decking, they like the look of it, they like the wooden aspects, they like the wood. There was a lot of what people said, and they liked very much what was there. So what they tried to do in their design, and I'm putting this really quite a bit down, is they tried to make it as close to what they could get, based on having to use federal highway standards. That's kind of where it wound up. So, but back to your point, Sheila, if the 106 were to be successful, then it changes the dynamic of how the current design for the bridge looks now, and it may change in the future. But that remains to be seen, if in fact the keeper determines that the historic designation is in play.
Right, can't.
Right, so the 106 designation is just gonna allow them to hire a consultant to advise additional measures to keep the historical look.
I think so. I think
But
that's
it won't
accurate.
change the federal requirements for loading on the bridge and,
That I don't know. Oh, no, the load demand is gonna remain.
right, so they'll do as much to make it continue to look the same. Doesn't
That's my
necessarily
understanding.
mean it's going to be a wood deck or wood like it,
I think that's an
It'll
accurate
be a
statement.
process.
okay.
They just want wooden sidewalks.
And they got them on the new design.
Right. But that's.
Did I, sorry, I thought I saw a hand up over here.
I was just going back to Ray, when he was talking about the beach and the parking lot. With the parking, so we're parking in the parking lot, but they can only work in a few months of the year. They're gonna be all these huge cranes and trucks working beside our kids. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
We-
I mean, I get that we
built
don't.
the bridge, the
no idea.
parking lot wasn't closed. The bridge was not closed. The bridge was in construction. The beach was open, all the traffic flowing through Granite Road. Everything remained as is on the beach. They didn't use any of the beach reservations, public parking, or the resident lot at all.
So they're doing it all from the water.
We don't know. We
Back-
don't have
this
the
is back in
logistics
86,
plan, but to
like-
say we're gonna lose the beach for 8 to 10 years, that's not true.
I agree.
Oh,
In
no,
fact, they said they were gonna do it from the water.
They're doing it all from the water, so they don't really need station.
Well,
But
they
you
do
did,
material.
but
When
you
bring
did all,
piles in- When you're buying piling and things like that, yeah, sure.
So huge trucks with steel are gonna be going by. Where
But
we're
it-
parking with our kids. That has to be a concern to some people.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be.
And in all fairness, like, I was little back in 85 and 86, and there weren't that many cars that could get out and drive on the beach. I mean, that's back in the day when we used to park a car here, and then be 50 yards between the next one, and so the volume is definitely increased from what it was in
Oh, yeah.
85 and 86,
yeah, sure.
so,
And Gurnett Road is a parking lot.
yeah. Jim.
I would like to correct the notion that FHWA and DOT said we can't do this kind of bridge because our bridge is funded under a pocket of money called off-system bridges. Off-system bridges can be 100% road. They can be, they're off-system. They don't have to meet. Marco has an opinion on what we need, which is a concrete highway bridge with wood sidewalks. But our funding is off-system and it's not through the national highway system. And a process can be made through the 106 to make it all wood, steel and wood, steel and wood and concrete. That process is yet to be seen. But it absolutely, and if we don't get a 106, there's still a negotiation about what an off-system bridge can be. And if we're denied a 106, there's still a negotiation the town can have on an off-system bridge.
Yes, obviously, at the east end in down to the we have a barrier beach, which we have to maintain with snow fencing. Seagrass, fumes of seagrass, which my hockey team and the baseball teams have planted every year. And then we have to bring in 18 wheels of sand to maintain height, because it's a barrier beach. That money that's used for all of that, where do we get all that money?
Stickers.
Thank you. So if we had a limit the beach access for this many years, where were they getting all the money to maintain the barrier beach for our inner coastline of all the people who live in Duxbury? If should we have numerous breaches, that we can't maintain that properly.
My understanding is that the Duxbury Beach Reservation will be given money as part of this highway project as a taken. And they're in negotiation with DOT when the final bridge design. We won't get sticker money probably. They need to armor the beach for winter storms. Just like the lady with the white lighthouse driveway, she'll get compensated for a taking. In talking to the Duxbury Beach Reservation, they're gonna be compensated for the taking of the parking lot, the access, and their revenue to armor the beach. And I found that out by trying to get them to support the 106 letter. And they couldn't do it because they're talking to people.
It's a conflict.
I don't know. It's,
Hell, Derek, there's our answer to the sticker problem.
I already knew this was going on. I've already talked to them.
yeah,
It was just my own hunch. It made sense. I mean.
yeah,
and
but
so-
that means
How that plays out.
citizens won't have access.
Yeah.
DBR and their negotiation with DOT as a taking is a private nonprofit negotiating with DOT for a taking. And we don't know what that number will be.
We could get rid of all these headaches, let Dr. Tingley work underneath the bridge 12 months a year, do some wood gutchman and forget about all this other stuff. Go home and have a nice night's sleep.
Right,
Okay?
kick that can down the road.
Jesus.
Because
When you see that crap, you don't walk through it, you walk around it. Okay, that's basically what we're getting into. That can be all resolved for all of us to be happy. Get him underneath the bridge, with approved architects and
Who will
engineers,
fund it?
and take care of that. Up to the 14 to 17 million dollars. And like I said, it's a 4-to-1 safety factor with most bridges. It's not gonna collapse with a 4-to-1 safety factor the way it is right now. And have him repair it periodically underneath with the wood touch. Everyone,
I do know that the PowerPoint Advisory Committee, they voted on their committee to write the letter, the 106 to support. So did the historical, I don't know if it's committee or commission.
Yeah.
They both took a vote within their committee, so I don't think you can just write the letter. I think you guys would have to like do that. As you probably already.
I can't raise my hand, so I wanted to raise my hand, but I can only do it by shouting into the meeting.
You're good, Christine. You can go.
Okay, so I would like to suggest that everybody go and look at the Chatham materials, which you can find by searching for the Chatham Mitchell River Bridge, because they did they did discuss having a wood bridge, but the wood bridge had to last for the requirements for federal funding, which was something like 70 years. So they had a big discussion about it. And they decided, well, maybe we can put creosote on the wood. It's really not that bad for the environment. And they couldn't convince anybody else. Then they decided that they were going to use copper arsenic. Copper chromated arsenic. And they decided not to do that because they didn't want to hurt the shellfish. So they were able to get the in principle, the federal government to pay for wood, but it turned out to be a bad idea because of all the effects of it. So I don't know, people keep talking about the wood, and I just want to caution people that even if you do get the federal, even if you do get into the Section 106, there's still all these requirements that come in. You just can't do a 25 to 40-year bridge, which you would usually do with new wood pilings, like tropical wood pilings. That's all. I just wanted to give people some information, encourage you to go and look at the documents in Chatham.
Thanks, Christine. All right. Anything further from anyone in the audience?
I just have one other point that I don't think has been brought up. And that is some of these impacts from a potential closure and how it impacts the traffic at the beach on the reservation. And it seems like, any way you look at it, the usage on the beach because of the restricted access would go down. For whatever reason you want to blame it on. And I just want to remind everybody that part of the reason why the beach has been open, I think, a little bit more is because of deliberate activity that's been going on out there. Lack of activity will only increase the plover problem. And so, you might want to think about that as well, because it seems like the town is trying to get a rein on it right now, and that could go in another direction. That's all.
I just have one more comment also. You mentioned that the bridge will be closed down in the winter, and Alicia just mentioned the piping plover. The piping plover will shut down like it does the bridge construction from May into whatever. So the environmental review on this bridge would be fascinating to see what months they can actually construct.
Yeah, they took it into consideration. I don't know if you saw the last presentation, but they had the construction timeline, and it's narrow.
Yeah.
Really narrow.
Not just on land, but in the water too, you should be able to finish.
Yeah, so 900 feet off. Some can't remember.
We have to do those same things when we do the piling restorations too.
Yeah.
There's only a certain window we have, it's like 3 months to get everything done.
I think fiscal advisory should request the 172 million in a bank account. You guys figure out.
I wish we had the power.
So should we close for public comment and we have discussion?
I think so. Yeah.
There's a whole lot more that we need from fiscal advisory to make any recommendation. I understand people, the looks of the bridge is important. There's a lot of compassion about retaining it as wood. I think the 106 designation, even it being off system, I have to do some more research. I think it still would require the same design loading for traffic, and our current bridge doesn't cover that. So I don't know. I think once we get that designation, I don't know if DOT will help us to go through the analysis of if you pick wooden piers, all wooden, is that allowed? And I'm not thinking it will. By just a quick research, it still has to be a 72 ton capacity. bridge, so we'll see on that, and I think they've made attempts to do whatever they can to make it look representative of what's there. It's not gonna be an all-wood bridge, I think, but, if they can design to that, then all for it, but what we have right now, nothing, there's not enough information for us to make any recommendation.
Anyone else have any additional thoughts?
Agreed, it's just, I'm still sitting here wondering, how do we get that answer? I think you posed the question, who's kind of orchestrating that, running with it, organizing it, that it can be brought back? And so I'm still a little unclear as to, we could walk away from this meeting saying that's what we need, how are we gonna get that?
Well, I think it comes down to DOT and getting the 106 designation. Then they're gonna tell us what they can do. And then if we get the alternatives of a concrete deck or a wood deck, our job would then be to look at the long-term impact of that. To maintain it, because initial cost is covered.
So that's a conversation after October.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that I think through or want to think about is even if we get the 106, can we restore the bridge, through this like process with Dr. Tingley or whoever the consultant is? And do we want to go down that path before we get to October?
So I could chime in here because I know that the answer is that DOT will be more forced to look at a rehabilitation alternative.
With a 106 or?
Yep, with the 106 before anything else, that's one of the things that they do, and they've already stated that.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
So if somehow the 200,000, the Dr. Tingley needs to come and do the level 3 in order to get the numbers that we all need to make this decision and help make the decision, would you be open to that possibility? Would you be open to that? If somehow magically I could wave my magic wand and get him out here, would you accept that as a possibility? Would you be open to that?
Meaning privately funded or publicly funded?
Yeah.
However, yes, I mean, somehow.
Because if like
Just pretend, we can come up with the 200,000. And we come up with, there might be schools and pickleball courts and walkways and everything, I'm sorry, but we do somehow. This is something that, when this goes away, it's gone. All right, $200,000 is not that much money. We're sorry, we are in a town with,
Just
people have a lot of money,
One consideration, just.
okay?
If we're talking about using public funds, wherever that may come from, that requires a town meeting vote. So
Sure.
that means we're automatically
So
delaying.
let's just say, I'm just asking,
Decision.
excuse me, I'm just asking the question, are you open to listen to Dr. Tingley? Or have him come out with a third level examination so he can have the data that you're looking for?
Is it fiscal and advisory's responsibility to listen to them?
That's the choice. I mean, you can't make a decision without having the information. And the only way to get the information is to have Dr. Tingley come out. He's already been out once. We funded it. All right, so that's why we are here now. So, I mean, can we all help out a little bit and try to make this work? I mean, we come up with this money in this town, it's like, it's unbelievable. So why can't we come 200,000? It's not that much money.
Believe me, we've been told there's a lot of money in this town. Different people have said, we'll help you.
Right, but to get the
I'm just letting you
200
King Caesar open. I don't want a lot of people.
Process.
No, I just, the process to request that 200,000 is part of the annual capital request, so we would put that on the list, it would go to town meeting in March, and 200,000 would be voted on and appropriated. So we're not talking that we could appropriate it now, it needs.
No, I didn't mean to know. And also if grants were looked into and if money could be raised that way, if we could do it somehow, it can be done. Would you be open to Dr. Tinley's information so you can make your decision? Or help make decisions, because we have the information. What's that?
We had to, it wasn't easy to get these access to a bridge, and you've got a private third party out there, and I don't know what a level 3 inspection involves.
Well, he explained it in his presentation.
And what did he tell us?
That he would need to come out with level 3.
Which involves what?
It's not a
invasive
safety factor or anything, it's not a safety factor or anything like that. I'd have base vest and all that stuff, low tide, different visuals, taking photos, that's about it.
What easier than taking people's property over eminent domain too. There's a lot of considerations, and it can be figured out, and I could get back to you with the answer to that. That's easy.
I think you're basically saying, do you have an appetite to appease this request? To have a second look with Tingley if we can fund it, I mean.
However,
Do you even, are you even inclined to say yes to that at all?
They're not in a position to make that decision.
Right, no.
They're
Because
not
that'd
in
be
charge of
private
town
funding.
assets.
Right.
They make recommendations on expenditures, they do not,
Okay.
they are not in charge of the town.
Okay.
So that would take a special town meeting to, to try to get the money allocated to fund.
If you were to do that, there are other things you need to be considerate of. The cost of a special town meeting to do that,
Yeah.
you already rattle
Or if
occasionally,
we
people
went-
don't like.
No, I
that.
understand, I just wanted to say out loud what the possible process would be.
It's a long
That's all.
timeline too.
That's all I'm just.
Yeah,
You
have
just
to have
can't shut the
funding
door.
source. What would the funding source be?
Or if we were looking into some grant money, if that were to come out that way, so it didn't have to, the town wouldn't have to absorb that. And we wouldn't have to go to town meeting, we just say we raise these monies. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well,
Not to get the whole process in the months and just if we could pull that off, we've been pulling a lot off.
it'll probably be worthwhile to
Just
see what
a few of
the
us.
keeper has to say come October,
That too.
see if it's necessary.
It was just asking.
Mhm.
If you thought, oh, maybe, we can tweak the version, keep it simple.
I bought a
We would do a lot of the legwork.
Yeah.
That would work.
I mean,
We'll take it.
really, I mean. Mark, online, you have a question, comment?
Hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. This is a question for Mary. Mary, if the bridge got historical designation with this 106, does that open it up to CPA funding?
Yes.
Thanks.
So that's the undesignated historical.
No, it'd be
or
historic.
the under-
It would be historical park undesignated.
And they have sufficient.
We could potentially argue open space as well.
Yeah. Recreation.
Yeah,
well,
it's like-
Exactly, yeah.
Fishing,
And then
recreation.
that would be up to.
Walking, biking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark, is your hand up again, or was that from
No,
before?
no, I'm sorry. I'm just driving and it's tough to
Oh.
control while staring at cars in front of me. Thanks.
Don't worry. Keep your hands on the wheel.
Yes.
Nice.
All right, well,
If it's. But remember, CPA has a process, right?
Yeah,
So there's a whole application process and vetting. and all that. It takes some
for sure.
It's a whole.
okay, so. Have we used all the bridge repair money?
Typically do it in October.
So we haven't used it yet because it gets scheduled for later in the season, but it is programmed to be utilized, yes.
Yeah, I think the
For
way they
repairs.
normally do it is there's an inspection in, I think it's October.
Yeah.
And I think based on that inspection is what dries
Sheila's
up.
on here.
Oh, yeah,
Hey, Sheila,
Sheila,
Scarzy.
yes. Can you give us a little process summary on bridge maintenance and repairs?
In terms
What's
of
coming up?
what's coming up.
Yeah.
So right now SGH is reviewing MassDOT's inspection from May. And they're going to be putting together the repair package that we'll put out to bid. And we always try to time the construction so that we get the results of the November bridge inspection in case that we have to pivot or make any emergency repairs.
So based on the repair inspection, the repairs identify which piles need to be repaired, but that also defines what they plan to do. Like, could one of those be a test of the new recommended repair method?
Right.
Dutchman.
Yeah.
That's going to require additional discussion and evaluation with SGH to see what we have funding for. We're starting out with less funding than normal because we've every year we set aside money for contingency if something goes wrong or if we have an emergency. This year we had to dip into our contingency fund, so now we don't have that. So we have less money, so we have to see what we can do.
Well, it would be interesting to ask, and if the Dutchman repairs is so much cheaper to do.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a
Can we facilitate a conversation? No.
yes, at least talk about it and see what is
Well,
involved.
we
in that.
have been talking about it. I'm not sure the Dutchman patch is something that SGH is comfortable designing because they will be doing the design. So it has to be something that they're comfortable with. My understanding is Dr. Tingley has some proprietary methods.
Okay, all right, just thought if we could get that trial.
I can just tell you a little bit about Dutchman, something like, you have termites in your home, under joists, adjacent to the top of your foundation wall, you call sistering on another joist. Gives it back the original strength. It's kind of like the same thing in Dutchman or wood Dutchman or stone Dutchman that's put in a masonry wall. It will replace it with the same strengths that are required. So you sister on it. Another one, you know what I'm saying? In your house, you had termites in your house and the joists.
Yes.
Well, a lot of them could happen in most homes. This location, the termites come at the top of your foundation wall, migrate into your joist, your floor joist. And when they come in, they just sister on another, same thing.
Right, but how is that different than what SGH has been doing? So that's what, if there's a different technique that could be used and it's.
We've been
cheaper?
told by an engineer also in the sistering, the 2 pile needed adjacent to the existing was not necessary, but I'm not gonna get there.
Okay, all right, well.
I just wanted to clarify that a 106 designation does eligibility, doesn't mean an all wooden bridge. It means a negotiation.
Yep.
And in Chatham, the nonprofit that submitted the 106 actually ended up walking away from the negotiation because they wanted an all wooden bridge and they didn't get what they wanted and they ended mad and dropped out of the negotiation. And the negotiated bridge was something that happened without the nonprofit. So if eligibility happens in October, the process and who's in the process becomes a process. I'm just informing you that it doesn't mean an all wooden bridge.
Right.
But it doesn't mean an all concrete bridge.
I did hear from different people out of town about the taxes for other people that don't live here. Saying we have to pay on our taxes money for Duxbury to go to their beach. There's no other state road on the east end. How are the DOT getting away with that? I don't understand that. You have, most bridges have a highway at either end of the bridge. We just have the west end that is public road. On the east end, there's nothing's private. I don't get that. I don't know how they're doing that.
Well, the smaller bridges in town,
It's off
Canal Street or Beach Street in Marshfield, all of those were replaced with federal funds.
They're called off-system. They don't have to have public ways. They don't have to be part of. There's regular highway bridges and there's off-system. This is off-system. It doesn't mean anything to do with that. But they are gonna turn over the bridge to the town of Duxbury for the project. And then the town will be this one.
Like all the other smaller bridges, this one's just notable.
2,200 foot long.
Right, but I think the fact that DOT was recently in town and said East Street would take this long, and then it took that long, is a warning for what the heck is becoming.
Well, Libby's mass highway versus a country, so it's.
Anything new?
Yeah, anyone have anything new?
Next steps, Alex. I think, the intent, of asking both fiscal and finance committee to start participating in the conversations was knowing that this is going to be a multi-step process. But we need to make sure that we have all of the right boards and committees. And you folks are all residents of this community as well. There's a vested interest, in participating in the process. So this is conversation number one of perhaps several, and at some point I would envision that we may end up having a joint meeting with the select board.
Yeah.
As well as several other communities.
And I guess,
Absolutely, yeah, you guys are just getting started
Yeah.
tomorrow,
And-
finance committee's gonna do the same thing.
and I guess
Just
I'm
getting started.
wondering, should we reformulate the PowerPoint Bridge Committee to have either a liaison from a number of these committees join? Just to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on.
Was that committee name appointed by the select board?
That's what
I can't remember. The PowerPoint Bridge Advisory
PowerPoint
Committee,
Bridge Advisory.
Alex is suggesting that.
It's the chair of it.
It was appointed by the select.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like,
They
should,
can expand this.
Oh, you wanna add, yeah, you wanna add people?
Yeah,
I'm
like,
just asking,
like a
should-
fiscal and a finance.
yeah, should fiscal finance,
Ed, are you still there?
historical,
Or you do.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Was that committee formed, appointed by the select board? I don't know off the top of my head.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
So we can
Like that.
make a request on that.
yeah, I mean, I think at a minimum that makes sense. I mean, I don't know how everyone else is feeling, but
Makes sense.
up until this point, you know. You get what you get by watching some of the meetings going on, but you can only do so much of that.
Yep, yeah. It's kind of like CPC.
I think I think that's a great idea.
So I guess, Ray, would you mind running that up the chain and just see if that's a possibility?
I'll see if I can actually do it on Monday.
Okay.
Do we have any volunteers?
Yeah. Anyone interested in bridge?
Yes.
I didn't see anyone raise their hands.
I just got an audit committee.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on, I've already done it.
It's not yet. The important part of the town. Oh, all right, thank you, okay.
What about somebody from Conscom?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should think through what the makeup of that should look like. I was just sort of going off the top of my head.
Yeah, good idea.
But, I think we should think through what that makeup looks like. And I think, I'd like to have a further conversation with the group of whether we want to write a letter to support a 106 designation or not.
We should also, as a group, sit down and make a list of what we think we need for the finances.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
we can circulate that, know what we're asking for.
Yeah.
We can let people
You
know.
just saved me an email tomorrow, Beth.
I mean, that's what I think, we should make a list of, and some of it we might be able to get, and some of it we won't have and don't have, and maybe we'll never have, but we gotta start saying, this is what we would like to look at.
Are you looking for a larger representation from the committee before you take a motion to write a letter of support?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to do it Right, well, that's,
I don't know if I'm doing it tonight.
yeah, I don't think we want to do it tonight. I think we would bring it up. You know, I want to sort of understand a couple
Couple more
nuances,
things,
yeah, to it. But yeah, I think, you know, having, expanding the bridge advisory group, I think would help. Yeah, and you know, I struggle with, you know, do we wait until this October sort of inflection point? Or do we try to start moving on potentially
I think
something
we
else?
should
But
start moving on, at least trying to
Yeah.
figure out what we need to gather.
Yeah.
So.
All right, does anyone have any other questions, comments, other ideas?
Will you just let me know when you're thinking about meeting again, because I do have a couple of other items to add to your agenda. Okay, great.
I'd like to thank all of you for listening to us tonight, very open-minded, and I really appreciate it, this group does. You know, the others, there's many more of us too that couldn't make it here tonight, but.
Well, thank you. We just had great representation. I'd like to thank all of you for caring enough.
This is the most amount of people we've had.
We've ever had.
We couldn't bring in the other 5,000, so.
But it was,
There's quite a few people on this board, on this committee, so.
But it's informative.
It's a longer numbers.
But it's been super informative and there's definitely different opinions and that makes for the best debate and conversation because it just is opening you up to things that you may not ask.
Right.
So, you know, all the private work that you've done, thank you for doing it.
We're doing it for everybody,
Yeah, thank you.
for all the kids, everybody else.
And Sheila too, clearly you've done a tremendous amount of work. Everybody, thank you for the work that you've
And
done.
for all the kids that take their bikes over the bridge, to go to the Maritime School, that visit their friends that go to school, and won't do that for up to 10 years, we don't know what we're gonna.
They're writing their yearbook at the end of the year, see you at the beach this summer.
It's so sad just to think that that's not gonna even happen.
There's a woman in the room, Renee Tuffy, who did the 106 majority of work. And we got a professional consultant, $350 an hour, who I just happened to know, and she did all the work for them.
That's wonderful.
And so Renee and our consultant did most of the 106.
Thank you, Renee.
Yes, thank you.
It was a lot. It is a lot.
All right, any more beach stuff before we move on to approving minutes?
I just want to say one thing. Thank you, everybody, for coming. These perspectives have been great. In the summer, I've really been thinking about, you know, what the best path forward is and, you know, the long-term implications of having the bridge shut, you know, do concern me. You know, I used to live close to the East Street Bridge. I thought it was gonna be a year. That was 2 years. So, you know, this bridge could potentially be closed for 4.5 or 10 years. And, you know, it does concern me. So, you know, thanks for.
You're absolutely correct with the construction schedule not be able to work during the winter. Move it in the summer, you're right, but all the other things. And we just think the best route is to go underneath, take care of that and not disturb anything else that's going on above.
Just one. Do you think that you can private fund the money that you would need to have him come in to do that study? Since we're, what's that?
That's how yeah.
We have a lot of people that are on our side, lots of them. And they say whatever you need. We'll see.
But they could use help.
That's easy.
They just want to make sure they get results.
Is he have an opening on your board?
We do.
Thank you.
We did meet with candidates last week. So, and we were, it's appointed by the moderator, but.
This is gonna take some time. I've been working against Holtec, dumping that 1.1 million gallons into our bay. And you know, they're burning it and evaporating it right now. So I invited the NRC to a nice New England lobster bay. And I told them I'd gather all the lobster and roasted. Yeah, right at this, right at the dump out location, you know, that goes for swimming, to the kids will swim. Don't forget your bathing suits.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I don't think anything I need to address. All right, August 6th, meeting minutes. Everyone okay with them?
When is your next meeting?
We haven't scheduled it.
Oh.
Yeah,
That was last week,
so last week, we didn't have a quorum when we had the candidates come in, there's only
so
four
there's
of us.
no vote.
And so there's no, well, I did minutes,
Yeah.
just a summary of.
I made a
Here's-
motion to accept your,
Summary
your
of.
summary.
Yeah.
Yes, your summary.
So,
I'm really sorry, I mean, I didn't get out of the document.
yeah, no, it's totally fine, it was, it was recorded, so, so we had two candidates come in. And we gave them, so one dropped out of the day.
Oh,
So it's breathing and your.
Everybody's interested in the.
Yeah. I don't follow up with the dreams.
Where we meeting down here?
And she's on a lot of committees already. To see if there's a.
And again, my point was, it's always better to just commit it in writing and reveal it, and may not be a conference. And for most times, it's not financial ethics.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just think it's a good practice, or just put it out there to people, put on.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if we
17.
vote on one versus the other, or.
Is he asking us? Yeah. Yes.
Jim is looking, I think, for a recommendation.
So can I make a suggestion that as members, we can talk to them personally, not as a group, we don't take a vote?
I think that's wise.
Because normally it would be like really the chair would make a recommendation to us and we would agree to it.
We never vote on it.
Been nice to include us.
Yeah, I mean, it's his call, but if he
What?
is saying he'd like feedback to see if there's good synergy or there's like, you know. Then I think we individually say we had the opportunity and we feel, but or. Again, we could talk to you one-on-one, not as a group, not with forum, and then you deliver it as a chair, which is fine, how you need to.
Yeah.
Did you have a preference?
I mean, I think if you guys, yeah, they are.
both have really, two really different.
Perspectives, totally.
Yeah.
Talents, for sure. Yeah, I would say if you guys want to send me an email with your thoughts,
Yeah.
I'll send Jane. I'll consolidate and aggregate and send it.
We're lucky, we have, you know.
It's the first, yeah, it's the first time we've ever had.
And it
This
sounds
problem.
like you may have somebody else that may want to submit too.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah, they gotta put a town bank form in, like, it's, you know. All right, so I need a motion for the August 6 minutes and. Should I guess I'll just submit the August 12th because we didn't have a quorum and just put them on the website so people can see
No.
that.
Well, we didn't have a vote for August 6th.
No, we had a quorum for the 6th. Oh, excuse me,
Yeah, because today's 12th.
the 12th,
Today we
sorry.
did not.
I'm sorry. We need to approve the June 23rd.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, June 23rd is when we have minutes for, and then August 6th is like.
Can you tell if
Just
who wasn't here for June 23rd?
I wasn't there.
Yeah. One sec. June 23rd, version 3.
President, Alex, Karen, Beth, Frank, Vinnie, Candy, Lynn, and Andrew.
So I can make a motion then to approve.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of the June 23rd. 2026 minutes. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, opposed, abstain. I see, you're gonna abstain.
Yeah, that's not there.
All right, so, I think it should be 701.
601.
7.
Oh, 7?
Yeah, I counted,
Yeah.
I counted.
Yeah,
Lane.
701.
701.
70, perfect.
601.
601. That's what I thought it was, 601.
Write that one down. Oh, yeah, right, yeah, right. And then, yeah, I guess August 6th notes, just that.
No motion,
Just
just
no
no-
motion, yeah, no, I'll put them up for transparency's sake.
One of the trying things to bridge right there, right?
Yeah, you're definitely right there. All right, I guess-
When do we kick off?
budget,
Well, one six, it's a couple of things for us, so you gotta see
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah, then next 2 Wednesdays are not good for me, but
I'm done for the rest of August, I can, vacation and travel. Yeah, so, yeah, vacation. So.
So we're looking at September.
Yeah, I think we're looking at September.
Yes, I
Labor Day's late this year, right?
Yeah, it's a 7.
September 2nd,
Yeah, I guess,
I'm good for that.
yeah, Wednesday, September 2nd work for people.
It's fine.
To be honest, that's-
Did you see? I had to look at it.
It's not in there now.
Because it was serialized.
Lynn, does September 2nd look good to you?
Yeah, does.
Okay,
Works for me.
okay,
I'm a tentative, but I'll try.
okay. Sure. All right, I'll put, I'll put an email out to people for agenda topics. To Mary. So I think we're gonna try to meet September 2nd.
Okay.
So if you wanna shoot me agenda topics.
Okay.
I can, hopefully do.
Alex, was it Jim and Bree? No, what was the 2 names?
Peter
Peter.
and Bree, yeah,
So one,
Those are your 2 candidates?
yeah,
one process,
I dropped that.
one process, suggestion only. So when we have meeting and we're inviting someone to present, and there's a lot of audience participation, it might be good to say, we'll hear the presentation, fiscal advisory, we'll have a discussion, and then we open it up to the floor for additional questions. Cause it gets out of hand that there's some people.
Yeah.
That, and it was very strong opinions.
Yep.
And you need to let them talk, but it was like.
Yeah.
We could not have a discussion, even just trying to, questions among ourselves, so
Yeah.
just to.
Yeah.
And then just say, okay, the public forum is closed, if there's any additional questions, wait to be recognized, it's kind of tough.
Motion adjourned,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Thanks, everyone.